Welcome to West Country Wanderings and welcome to another one in my canal series. Today we're on the Kennet and Avon Canal in West Wiltshire. I caught the train here through Bristol and Bath. The train then makes its way down onto Weymouth on the Heart of Wessex line, but I got off here at Avoncliff. Interesting experience. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. We'll also have a look at the Avoncliff railway station. But the main reason that we're here is this stunning Avoncliff Aqueduct, which just lies behind me. I'll tell you the story about who built it and when, and the trouble they had building it, and we'll also have a look along the towpath, along the Kennet and Avon Canal, as well as the railway station. So why not join me here for another canal tour on West Country Wanderings on the Kennet and Avon Canal. So this is Avoncliff railway station, and that there is Avoncliff Aqueduct. Now the reason I had problem getting off here is because they only open one carriage. Now I was sat in the right carriage, but not only do they only open one carriage, they only open one door on that carriage. When I pressed the button to open the door to get off here, unfortunately the door remained locked because I was at the wrong door. So what had to happen, I then had to carry on towards Bradford on Avon and then change trains there and catch the next train back here to Avoncliff. Fortunately though, it was only a 25-minute wait at Bradford on Avon, and Bradford on Avon station is only 1.5 miles down the track there. Interesting experience. I did, however, manage to get a look around Bradford on Avon station. I'll include some photographs of that now because that's an equally interesting and beautiful station with a lovely garden, and I sat in the garden having a sandwich and a sip of water while I waited for my train back here to Avoncliff. So yes, if you are coming to Avoncliff, not only do you need to be in the front carriage, you also need to be standing right next to the guard, because that's the only way you'll be able to get off the train here at Avoncliff. But it's well worth it. It's a stunning little place. In fact, it's the only aqueduct on the canal system which has its own railway station. So that's the railway portal of the Avoncliff Aqueduct right about there. Just done a video clip of a train going through it. Just here is the delightful River Avon, of course, Bradford on Avon. This, of course, is known as the Bristol Avon. So it flows from Bristol, it goes towards Bristol through Bath to Bristol, and obviously meets the Bristol Channel at Avonmouth, not to be confused with the Warwickshire Avon, which we've also seen on the channel flowing down from Stratford on Avon down through Evesham to Tewkesbury. So that is the portal for the aqueduct here. It was built by John Rennie between 1797 and 1801. Now John Rennie was a Scottish civil engineer, and we've come across him before because last summer I actually did a short video about the Dundas Aqueduct, also on the Kennet and Avon, and also built by John Rennie, and that is just a few miles further on along the Kennet and Avon Canal here. Now, when this aqueduct was originally built, they used stone from the local quarry, but it became damaged by frost, which led to a partial collapse of the aqueduct, and it had to be rebuilt. They then decided to use Bath stone, which was taken from the nearby Bathampton quarry, just some 4 or 5 miles in that direction from where I stand at the moment. Also, the problem of the aqueducts is that they sometimes can leak, and this aqueduct here, Avoncliff, has certainly not been without exception on that regard. In fact, in 1980, the entirety of the aqueduct was lined with concrete to prevent water seeping through and onto the railway, river and footpaths below it. Now, the Kennet and Avon Canal, as the name implies, links the River Kennet with the River Avon. In fact, the Kennet and Avon isn't just a canal, it's also the name for the navigable sections of the River Avon, the River Kennet, and part of the River Thames, because the purpose of the Kennet and Avon Canal is to link the cities of Bristol to the city of London. And of course, it does that via this River Avon. And in fact, between Bristol and Bath, there is no canal. It is the navigable section of the River Avon, and then that's where the canal starts. It then goes on towards the River Kennet, and it then enters the River Thames near Reading, and then of course goes on the navigable section of the River Thames towards London. The only thing to mention about the Kennet and Avon is it's 85 miles long. Construction began around 1710. It started to be used just partially in 1723, though it wasn't completely opened until 1810. And there's also 105 locks, should I say, on the Kennet and Avon, including a huge flight of locks, cane locks, near the town of Canal, also here in Wiltshire, and that's probably somewhere we'll also look at here on West Country Wanderings in a future video. Now, like a lot of canals, of course, the Kennet and Avon Canal fell out of favour towards the end of the 19th century with this thing, the Great Western Railway, and that affected lots of canals in the area that obviously like the Stroudwater and the Thames and Severn as well. So it started to fall out of use, but thankfully it started to then be restored in the 1960s. Now, the initial impetus of getting this canal, amongst many others, restored is thanks to one man in 1944. One John Rolt, or should I say LTC Rolt, published a book called Narrowboat, and that had a profound effect. In fact, it started a movement in terms of people recognising the worth of canals in terms of their peace and quiet, their tranquility, their nature, and also the fact that they could be reopened for leisure use. That started a momentum in this area, which reached a crescendo in the 1960s. In the 1980s, Timothy West and his wife Prunella Scales, also two celebrity famous actors, of course, and you probably know them for their adventures on their Channel 4 series. They started to have a keen interest in this canal, and with them, and obviously lots and lots of hundreds, if not thousands of volunteers, this canal was thankfully completely restored and reopened in 1990. But what about the man that designed this fabulous aqueduct here in Wiltshire? Well, he was born in 1762 to the son of a farmer near Fantasy in East Lothian in Scotland. John Rennie was adept at mechanics and showed a real interest in that field from a very, very early age. Because of his interest in mechanics, he was allowed to spend a lot of his time working with Andrew Melky, a local wheelwright. In 1784, he took a journey south, met up with James Watt in a place called Soho in Staffordshire, and spoke to James Watt about his engines, of course. But this led the young John Rennie to explore the capabilities of cast iron, not just in terms of building engines, but for building bridges and also things like docks. In 1791, he moved to London, taking a keen interest with the canal mania that was happening all across the UK at that time, of course. And because he was then fully established as a civil engineer, as well as being a key opponent of the cast iron and building docks in Scotland, he expanded and started to design bridges and aqueducts for many canal companies. Now, as well as the aqueduct here at Avoncliff and the Dundas Aqueduct, of course, he also worked on the Chelmer Canal in Essex and the Rochdale Canal in Lancashire. As well as canals, his other waterways interest was in the drainage system at the Fenlands, and he devised systems to make sure that those fields there, which are actually just below sea level, could be drained and then to be enabled them to be farmed and crops grown upon them. In 1806, perhaps his finest achievement, and this is certainly something that's in the region that I cover on West Country Wanderings, is the Plymouth Breakwater, and this started to be built in 1806. Because of his death and ill health, and then later his death, his son took over the project, and this opened into the second decade of the 19th century. I'm here probably able to make out a pillbox. There was one when I did the first piece to camera. I was actually standing right next to it when that wide beam boat was turning around at the end of the aqueduct, and it was giving people a tour. And we've come across these before. If you've been watching my canal series, we've seen them on the Stroud Water Canal. It formed part of what's known as the Bristol Green Line, a defensive system around the city of Bristol. City of Bristol, of course, is about 15 miles to the west of where I am currently, and we're in the southern part of that. So you had that protective line of pillboxes around the northern section, some 35 miles to the north, going right up into Gloucestershire, and this southern section going into Somerset, and where we are here today in Wiltshire. But what about the canal? Where is the Kennet and Avon Canal now? Well, of course, this is the river. The canal is just there. I can just see that line there. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little trip here on the Kennet and Avon Canal and the story of the Avoncliff Aqueduct. Stunning piece of civil engineering over the Kennet and Avon Canal, or should I say carrying the Kennet and Avon Canal over the railway and the river Avon across the Avon Valley here in West Wiltshire. If you did, please consider a like, subscribe, share or a comment, particularly if you've travelled along the Kennet and Avon Canal, or indeed if you have a favourite canal, and that doesn't have to be in the UK, it could be anywhere in the world. I'd love to hear from you on your tales about canals and what you enjoy doing alongside canals. Until next time on West Country Wandering, look after yourselves, take care, and I hope to see you on the channel again very, very soon. All the best for now. Cheers. Goodbye.